Hi, I'm Matthew and welcome back to another chat about learning Chinese. Today we're going to talk about the tone system of Chinese, and this is something that every learner of Chinese notices quite early on, and also that gives us a lot of headaches because the tones are not only difficult for us to hear, in a lot of cases they're also difficult for us to produce. When we try and say the tones, our teachers sometimes say, oh no, you're saying the wrong one, or what, you're saying them all the same. So it's a tricky thing to get right. Not only that, we think, gosh, if we get it wrong, people are going to get totally the wrong idea. We hear all these scary stories about people who say the wrong syllable and end up saying something terribly offensive, or say something that makes them sound really ridiculous. But the thing is that in Chinese, it's not actually as important as all that. Yeah, there are some situations where the tones might make a difference, but in most everyday situations, there's enough other stuff in the language that you can focus on that will make sure that those misunderstandings just don't happen. Now, why do I think that? Well, here's a good example. Just look at music. In music, when you're singing, you can't produce a tone and keep a tune because they both involve raising and lowering the pitch of your voice. So if a Chinese person listens to a Chinese song, there is no tone. But they can understand what it's about straight away. They don't need to get out their phone and search, find out what the lyrics are. No. They listen to the song and they understand it. What that means is that if you don't make any tones at all, you can still make yourself understood to a Chinese speaker. The trick is to focus on the other stuff. Okay, there's a lot of stuff in the Chinese language and tones are a part of it over here. But if they're really hard and you don't have a lot of time, you've only got a certain limited amount of time that you can use in the study of Chinese, then why worry excessively about the tones? Yeah, sure, it'd be great if they were there, but you can think of them as the icing on the cake. And the rest of the cake is over here. There's a big chunk of it. And if you're always worrying about the tone, what it means is you're neglecting the rest. You're not actually baking a good cake full of delicious things. So focus on where it's going to make the most difference, where you get the bang for your buck. There's a lot of other stuff that you can concentrate on, and the meaning is in there. And the tone is like the icing on the cake. And the good news is that a lot of that stuff that's strategic, that's central, that's really important to making your meaning clear, is not as strange and different as the tones are. In fact, a lot of stuff that you know how to do already, you can bring that across into Chinese with a very minimal amount of readjustment. And some of it is really simple stuff. It's like about speaking clearly. Now, when we're in a language class, we might learn some bad habits because you're thinking at the time while you're speaking, I'm going to lose marks if I say the wrong thing. Now, of course, that's going to make you present a bit less confidently. It's probably going to make the volume of your speech drop down. It's probably going to make you and ah a bit, make you pause and think, okay, I've got to get exactly the right pronunciation, and then you speak. Of course, what that means is that your flow of conversation is being interrupted by all of that. So when you're in a real-world conversation, it's better to just blunder on and make mistakes than to stop, think exactly how you should say it. And it's better to speak loudly and be wrong rather than mumble and be wrong. Because if you speak loudly and clearly, then there's a good chance they'll know exactly what you want to say. And they'll be able to say, oh, you mean this? Yep, okay, the conversation goes on. If you speak really softly and unconfidently and pause and mumble, then chances are they're not even going to get enough information out of you to even work out what you want to say, and the conversation stops. So if you want to know where do I invest this effort, yeah, one thing is really simple, just pretending to be confident, acting as though you're confident, and just bringing together all the words you do know, put them into a sentence the best way you can, speak it clearly and loudly so the person can hear what you're trying to say. And that's going to give you the best chance of building up, having a foundation to build from. You notice there, we're not actually learning anything about language at all, but there is stuff that we can do with language that will also help. We can look at vocabulary, grammar, that sort of thing. So if you build up your vocabulary, then you have more choices available to you. If you have more ways at your disposal, more ways of saying things, then you can always just avoid one that might result in being misunderstood. Choose a different one. You can also build extra structure around there. You can give context. So if you look at the kind of jokes you hear about language learners saying embarrassing gaps, for example, the learner wants to say that they like the city of Shanghai, so they say 我喜欢 Shanghai, which actually means I enjoy inflicting harm. Now, of course, in reality, if you know about that pitfall, you can just say it a different way. 上海这个城市，我非常喜欢. Okay, even if you get the tones wrong, you've just avoided that pitfall. You've said it a different way that can't be misunderstood even if you say it wrong. So simple tricks like that, building up that vocabulary. Every language learner can learn new words. Every language learner can learn new sentence patterns and practice them. And another thing we can do is we can focus on the sound of the language. We can focus on the sound of syllables, listening, speaking, repeating, using your phone or your computer to record your own voice, play it back, see how you sound, compare it to a native speaker. Learn how to avoid the difficulty where you sound too much the same. Make your different syllables different, clearly different. That's going to help a lot in being understood in your conversations as well. Another thing you can do, move your view from individual syllables out to sentences. Each sentence has high points and low points. It's got stresses and it's got less stress in certain places. There'll be some syllables that are stretched out a bit, others will be rushed over a bit. And this sort of thing is not so different from English. If you look at our English sentences, they're not the same stress and length given to each syllable. There's also pauses. We don't speak like a robot who puts the same amount of emphasis on every syllable. So that sort of stuff you already know how to do in English. And it's not a big leap to start doing it in Chinese. Just listen to more Chinese sentences. And again, you can speak, practice, repeat the sentence, play it back, and see how you're going. See if you're getting closer to what the Chinese rhythm, timing, emphasis sounds like.